Hey there, welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychuk with Queen Bee Creations, and today we get to play with Sarah Featon's Botanicals, new IOD transfer that's out. It's just got a lot of super cute little florals, and I wanted to just start working a little bit through my stash, and it's all small projects, so I need small images. First up though, is some behind the scenes painting. So I do have this little birdhouse style item. It had a little perch that I took off, but you can see the sides are open. So you could do this, and it's got a slot to be able to hang it. So you could put this, that it has a candle in it. You could put like ivy, an ivy plant in it. So have all of the ivy trailing down, or you could put a little container in there with birdseed in it. So you could have it be a bird feeder, but it obviously needs to get painted before we do anything. And so what I'm doing is another great opportunity to play with my new alchemy paints. So these are by Fusion. They have a little bit of a sealer in them, but they are a different formula. They're not a mineral paint. They are an acrylic, limestone, and chalk paint. So I'm going to paint the body of this in Harvest. I think that's what you're called. Yeah, still learning the names. And the roof I'm going to do in Time. So it's going to be nice, soft colors for that. So that's going to get painted by the time you see it next. The other thing that I'm going to be painting is this little tray. Now I've tried, it does not come apart. Shoot, it would have made my life easier. I'm just going to have to be careful going around painting the black. Thrifted this for, well, $3.49 minus 30%, so that's 35, 70, well, so about $2.50 I got this for, which is awesome because it has a much higher price tag on it. Now, it's nothing spectacular. I mean, it's well built, but this is just nice, light press board. But I'm going to paint it in terracotta. The terracotta with the black, I think it'd be nice, and a nice background. Right now, I'm thinking those are the only things that I need to paint. So next time you see them, they'll be painted. But I reserve the right to paint others if I decide, just in case it goes that way. But the thing that I wanted to start with, because I'm going to be using some resin, and the resin is going to have to dry overnight, is I wanted to do just some clear plastic acrylic coasters. So these I get in a stack like this, nothing pretty. From Amazon. What they do come with is a plastic film on both sides. So you want to kind of use your nail and start it on one side and peel it off. So you can see already that the good side is shiny. What I like to do before I go much further is put an X on the other side, because I want to leave that film on there. And I don't want to mess up, which I've done before. Because if I do my transfer and my resin on this side, it'll just peel off with, with the cling film. But leaving it on helps us with tidying it up afterwards. You know how when you have this supported and you're pouring your resin over, you're going to get drips on the underside. I will kind of wipe those away, but you don't get them all. But this allows me to peel it away, and it takes them all. So I get a nice clean finish. Right? So there is reason behind it. Okay? So what I do want to do is pull you in closer. I have a 2-part epoxy resin that I'm going to use. This is the Let's resin kind. I've had great success in using it for my various projects. Dries really crystal clear. It's the one with the jellyfish on it. Again, I get that from Amazon. I can drop a link in. But 2-part epoxy, just going to pour them in. It goes cloudy. When it's clear, it's ready to use. This is the slow drying overnight 24-hour stuff, but that's okay because I don't need it in less time than that. So I just, it dries strong, it dries hard, it dries crystal clear, all the good things. So let me pull you in, and we'll do up our little coasters. All right, the first thing that I've done is I've gone through my transfer pad, and I've kind of cut apart some of the florals that will roughly fit onto my discs. I've also made a point of looking at my disc and making sure that I am working on the shiny side, not the dull side, because sometimes even the X makes it a little challenging. But these are going to go on super easy onto this surface. I just want to kind of center them on, and then we're just simply going to rub them in place. And it's just going to give us just a nice floral look. And you can do this with any of the transfers, of course, right? But you can see how easily they stick onto that surface because it's nice and slick. And ultimately, that's going to be what our coaster looks like. So we're going to get the other 4 of these. Sorry, the other 3. I'm only making 4. The other 3 of these coasters done the same. And I'm double checking my coasters again, which is probably actually triple checking because I have done them on the wrong side before. So it's like learning from experience. But I'm going to get these guys done and I'm going to get set up for doing the resin. All right, what I have done is I've taken this tray because I want to move this project out of the way so I can carry on with other projects. And I have a table off to the side ready for this that I have already used my level, right? Just one of these things to make sure that it's nice and flat. If it's not, right, so we just need that bubble to go right in the center here, and that's going to be level. If it's really off kilter, that means my resin is slowly going to slide in that direction. We want it nice and level, so gravity's working in our favor. And I've just covered this in plastic so that the resin that drips over isn't going to go everywhere, right? That we're going to be able to, use this tray afterward. So I am just going to kind of pour out a bit of resin onto each. And I didn't make tons. Just enough so that it'll kind of even out. And immediately what you'll see is that it almost kind of seems to magnify your image. It really makes those transfers kind of pop on that surface. And I'm just looking to see where I need a little more. And I'm just going to help kind of push it out to the edges. This is where you actually want it flowing over the edges a little bit. That's okay, because then that just shows that everything is covered. And because we have that under plastic on it, then that will get rid of and help us clean off the bottoms of these so that they're nice and smooth afterward. So I'm just going to even this out on each of these coasters and move them off to the side to dry. The one thing that I will do is once I have this all coated, I will take just a really gentle heat gun and just kind of run it over the top surface at some distance. I don't want to be blowing my resin around, but I do want any of the air bubbles that may be in my surface, right? I want them to rise up and pop so that I don't have any bubbles in there. So, oh, this one's almost all done already. We had more than enough resin. If I have extra resin, I still have a little bit in my jar. So not much, just a little. If I do, then I will just find something to use that on. All right, you can see that I have cut apart a bunch of elements from this because we need to kind of play with where they're going. So first things first, let me put those, I think they go with that. I don't know for sure. But I do have a couple of little paddles and I like a little tiny cutting board, sorry, and a little tiny paddle. And I love using these just as decor, where you stand them up beside each other, you have it on, you know, leaning against the wall. It becomes part of in essence, like a vignette that you're doing. So for these, I want to put them directly onto the wood. Now, the one thing that you have to make sure, you know, especially when you're using like old rolling pins perhaps, or, oops, that guy doesn't belong in there. As I'm just looking at him, that's a whole separate little flower. Well, maybe used, but he can't just be hanging in space there. Oh, glad I caught that. Okay, perfect. Well, maybe, because he's cut out, move him down toward the bottom. Or, oh, I have something else. Okay, no, just talking to myself. So when you're doing it directly onto wood like this, especially these old pieces, you know, where you've got old spoons, or you have an old rolling pin. These are awesome on old rolling pins or something. You just want to make sure that they're not oily, right? So, you know, wash them well, make sure that you clean the wood so that any of the old oils that perhaps had been in cookie dough or something like that have been removed, because those oils would serve as a resist and your transfer won't stick then. If you are concerned about it, then you can try sealing your wooden piece first with a polyacrylic sealer and then attach these. But you can see, because I've got old dry wood here, wasn't oily, this goes on like a charm. And it just looks super cute. Now I feel compelled to add a little something going up there, so I'm going to go back into my stash and look. So don't be surprised if you see this with something, but perfect. This one is going to receive this kind of big droopy flower. And for things like this, you could tie a bit of jute, have, you know, a little label hanging from it if you wanted. You could do a couple of beads. You could group these together. I just like having them loose and then using them into vignettes as I need. So I'll finish that one off and it'll be okay. We have this guy to do. And what I did do was I got in there these two transfers that kind of curve, and I thought that they would look great around the base perhaps. But you can see if I start this here, it kind of hangs off into space. And I don't want that happening. So I'm going to actually cut it right down about there so that when I get this piece attached, I can sort of try arching it around better. And I'll do the same with the curve that goes the other way, so that they kind of fill in a little bit more circular around that base. And then I have a couple of other light little sprigs that I can put on the top. Now, once I've attached my transfers, I am going to want to seal them and protect them. So I will be using a polyacrylic. I have Fusion Ultra Guard in a flat. I don't want it glossy, so a Fusion Ultra Guard in flat that I will be sealing everything with, just to protect my transfers and just make them, you know, a little more durable. And you can see that little bit of a top coat, even though this dries really flat, but the little bit of a top coat that is in this alchemy just helps these transfers stick with no issues and no problems, and it just works a charm. So here you could see this piece would have attached here, this piece would have attached here and come straight off the edge. And instead, I can kind of make it appear that it bends and curves and attaches in better to fit my piece. So never feel like you're locked in with any of your transfers. You can overlay them, you can cut them apart and use them differently, and it looks like it was made to do that. So I'm going to do the other side and then the top of this one and get it sealed. Okay, oh my goodness. All right, get rid of the empty pieces so I know that there's no transfers attached to those. We also have our little birdhouse, and I've left this a little bit rustic. I'm waiting now for it a bit because I want to maybe distress these as well. Oh, just saw I have a price tag. Now I will say on this one of the things that I did do was I left the back unpainted on this piece because it had all of this wonderful label of where it was originally made and done. So I like leaving that. I mean, ultimately it would go against a wall or something, or where it's hanging, if it's going to be hung. I just noticed I am going to be painting the bottom, however, if it's hung, we would like that to be. But I am looking at kind of cutting apart some of these florals because I wanted this branch to maybe come up and over a little bit. So, you know, I'll lose a bit of it, but I can arch it up in there. And then get some transfers on this as well. And again, this is the alchemy paint, so it's going to stick beautifully. And then this also will get perhaps distressed a little bit. We'll see once I get the florals on, and sealed up also. Okay, one last little project because I can't stop. I thrifted a bag of these little boards. They all have kind of a little bit of a piece of jute twine that is little mini stapled down onto it. And I also thrifted a couple of these little mini buckets. So what I am going to do is because you know what? I can't stop. It's like if anything stands still in here, it's going to get a transfer on it. So I'm going to attach a little flower on here, just in the natural wood. It looks like it might be bamboo. And I got a whole bag of them for like $4. So just super cute for little projects. And I just thought, you know what? Let's get this on here so you can see it's going on just fine. And what I am going to do is I'm going to attach the little bucket down here. So it looks like the flower is coming out of the bucket, but then this becomes a little tea light. Now, here's our little coaster that we did yesterday. So the top is nicely covered and beautifully rounded, but can you notice these drips hanging off the bottom? Can you see those? That is because the resin curves down there. Now, if I didn't have this protective plastic coating on them, and this is a little bit tricky to get started, especially if you don't have nails. But when I pull this off, which makes this go just crystal clear, they just pop right off. Look how beautiful that is. They're gone. Perfectly smooth base, and we've got a beautiful coaster. Today's video was all about taking some time out and starting to play with Sarah Featon's Botanicals. Now, I have done a number of projects and I have tons of flower pages still left. So, you know, if you're looking at the price of the transfer relative to project, when you break this down for smalls, these go so far, right? Because you're able to use them and do multiple projects. So, you know, you're looking at the cost of this extended. I mean, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of 5-ish things, but maybe not even 2 full pages of the transfer when all is said and done. So always factor that into your thinking as you're doing this. Obviously, some of the bigger transfers that have bigger clusters of flowers, you're going to get less number of projects out of them, but they're probably going to be bigger projects. So if you were looking for the resale value, because you're doing markets, or you've got a little shop or something, those are going to be higher dollar items that you're going to sell. The bigger the item, typically the more that you're able to charge for it. So always keep that in mind in terms of, when you're looking at some of these, how easily can I cut them apart? If what I mostly do are small projects. If I'm doing larger projects, then, you're breaking down the cost of the transfer across fewer projects, but they tend to be higher dollar projects. So does it add value that way? So the first thing that we did was we did some little coasters, right? So beautiful little, I just wanted them clear. Could you paint the bottom of these? Absolutely. Could you have painted it and then put it on? Absolutely. So you'd have a colored background. I just really loved the thought of these being crystal clear. Now, this one is perfect. The other 3 are not. Just in the sake of true confession time here. So I have not removed the backing paper on these 3 yet. So what happened was, even though I had leveled out and checked for that stuff, what I didn't do was check it out once I'd added the little caps and stuff. And so these 3 were kind of on a bit of a slight slope. So it just means around the edge a little bit. I don't think that the transfer is fully encased. So I've left the back on them so that I can do these again and put them on an opposite slope so that they fill out. So just, again, don't remove the backing if you're going to have to kind of do your resin casting again. Perfect. Not so perfect. They will be perfect, and they will look awesome, and we'll have, that same lovely look and that lovely crystal clear. So this is that Let's resin that's giving me that crystal clear look. We added in just this sweet little project, which, a little bit of hanging hardware on the back, and it just becomes a cute little tea light holder. You could have multiples of these on a board, or multiples of these, hanging on your fence. I mean, whatever you want to do, and have a little light outside. If you don't want open flame, then you just drop in one of those little battery operated tea lights. Just super cute. Doesn't always have to be big projects, right? We did a couple of little wooden pieces that just, super fast to be able to make up. You can get things like this in thrift stores all the time. I pick them up whenever I can, because these just make great little filler items, nice little low-cost items that, are nestled into little vignettes on the top of your buffets or on tiered trays or those kinds of things. So doing up some of these takes no time whatsoever. And, if you're selling at a market, become a nice little low-cost item that people can pick up and be able to tuck into their decor, no problem. This was just a really cheap, inexpensive little press board tray, little tiered tray. I thrifted for, well, actually my sister thrifted for me, but same difference, for about $3. And it looks great. A little bit of paint and some of those transfers perked it right up. And then we have, I was going to say birdhouse, but it's not really a birdhouse because it doesn't have the sides, but it could be a bird feeder. It could be a little candle holder, or for a potted plant. It's got the hardware, the hole in the back to be able to hang it. I left the back because I love the original stamp from the maker of it. I did ultimately take that same little wooden perch and I just painted it in the roof color for contrast. I really like that, rather than adding in like a metal element. There's a little bit of distressing on it, which is just enough. And just super cute, super sweet, using the alchemy paints. So a number of quick little projects, nothing that is hard, easily done with your kids if you're looking for some kids crafts. And again, even with your transfers, kids love doing the rub-ons. So, you know, when I've had my grandkids in here helping out, anything that I could give them that required a transfer, they were loving. So don't hesitate to get them involved, because they really are super easy to be able to apply. Kids enjoy doing them and give you such a lovely finished product very quickly. Again, tons of the book left that I'm going to be working my way through on other projects, but I just wanted to give you a number of quick little ideas that you could use if you're looking at some of the transfers that you just purchased from the new release and wondering, what am I going to do? Start looking for some of these items in the thrift store. They all turned out super cute. Let me know what you think. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one. And until then, take care.